The Marinade.
There's no O in Marinade. Let's try it one more time. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
The Marinade.
Marinade.
Bone Marinade. The
That's
Marinade.
The Marinade. With Jason Earl.
I'm a big hip hop fan. I grew up in it. It's kind of that was like the lifeblood of Atlanta. Like I'm a huge Outkast fan. Hell yeah, the best, right? I've met Andre 3000 3 times. Yeah, once for every stack. I met. That's. Did that work? That worked. Okay, if you don't know what happened, can you just clap your hands real quick? Okay, cool. The first time I met Andre 3000, I was 13 years old. I had just started smoking weed, and I was behind him in line at a burrito shop with my buddy Ben. And I look over and I look at Ben. I was like, "Oh shit, is that? I think that's. It looks like it might be. It could be. Yes, me." Coolest thing that could have happened to me when I was 13. The second time I met Andre 3000, I used to work at the Apple Store. Surprise! I've seen all of your nudes. So Andre 3000 comes into the Apple Store to buy a phone. I'm a huge Outkast fan, so I run up to him. I was like, "Oh my God, Andre 3000, man, your album Aquemini, it changed my life." And I shed a single tear, and I'll never forget this. He looked me dead in the eye, and he was like, "I'm glad you liked it, but you don't gotta cry like a little bitch." Okay, the third time I met Andre 3000. I went to the W Hotel in Midtown Atlanta. It's a really nice hotel. I took my ex-girlfriend there for our anniversary, and we were having a great time. But she went to bed really early. I went downstairs to the bar, and I got blackout drunk. And I saw Andre 3000 coming in. I was like, "Oh, shit." And I walked up, I was like, "Hey, Andre! I don't know if you remember me." He goes, "Oh, yeah, you that silly motherfucker that cried in the Apple Store." I was like... Like, hell yeah, man. It's like, that's me. And then I threw up on him. So needless to say, I'm no longer allowed at the W Hotel in Midtown Atlanta, but I am also no longer that silly motherfucker that cried in the Apple Store. So, hell yeah, thanks.
Welcome to The Marinade, a free-flowing conversation about the creative process with creative people. Each episode, we welcome musicians, actors, comedians, authors, visual artists, filmmakers, anyone who creates art to talk about how and why we make stuff. This is episode 155, and our guest is Max Fine. Max Fine is a hilarious comedian originally from Atlanta, Georgia, who now makes his home in New York City. His outstanding album, I Like His Style, was released in October of 2023. His podcast, In the Minivan, with his good friend Michael Rowland, is an absolute blast of a listen. Y'all, I've been a fan of Max's for several years, and it was an absolute pleasure to sit down with him via Zoom the other day. It is my honor to bring you my conversation with Max Fine. Are you sitting? Hey, Max!
How's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
I am okay. Can you hear me and everything?
Yeah, you're a little scratchy. Are you connected to those AirPods?
Yeah. Is it's still a little scratchy?
Yeah, it's serviceable though. It's all right.
Sure?
Yeah.
Okay,
We're okay.
cool.
Unless you have an alternative.
Not that I know if it works, but
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll make it work. Let me see if I can turn you up a little bit though.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Dude, thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad you were desperate on Twitter the other day.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
No, man, I really appreciate it. I'm a big fan. I think my introduction to your comedy was back in the throes of the pandemic.
Show, right?
Yeah, it's the Church
Yeah.
of Fruit and Fuck, man. It was for folks listening, that was like such a special thing that they had, Drew Morgan and DJ Lewis, where like Drew was bringing together all these amazing people, and just like it was hilarious, and it was much needed community, and you just slayed. And I've been a fan ever since, man.
Oh, dude, it's so wild to think about that. I keep forgetting that that was just so fucking long. It feels like it was so long ago, and it really wasn't.
Yeah.
But I completely forgot about like, oh yeah, I spent a year in my apartment, and it's just wild to think about. I remember that being so crucial at the time too, like Zoom shows and online comedy and all that.
Yeah, I mean,
Crazy. It was crazy.
It is wild. It seems like a different lifetime ago, and I don't know if we'll ever stop talking about that fucking pandemic. But
Yeah.
but I'm grateful that it brought me, people like you, for example, and I'm really grateful that we're gonna have this opportunity to talk, dude.
Yeah, dude, me too.
Man, this has been one of the most enjoyable deep dives. I always do a lot of research when I have a guest on, and like,
oh boy,
it's been super fun, man. I mean, like you've done a lot of really cool things, and your album, I listened to your album. I like his style when it first came out, and then I've just been listening to it. Like you've been in my ears a lot, so
oh hell yeah, thanks, man.
So,
that's so cool. Thank you.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. And there's so many themes on it that I want to dive into, because like,
please.
And especially, so there's so many things that jump out to me. Like we're both Southerners.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You're in Florida, right?
I'm in Florida. I'm from Kentucky originally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Kentucky.
I was born in Elizabethtown. In small town Kentucky, like sure. I was born there because there wasn't a hospital in the town that we lived in.
Wow, okay, right on.
Yeah, and then I grew up in Central Florida, so it's interesting to me because I'm curious about what it was like growing up Jewish in the South, because I grew up Baptist in the South, and like I didn't know y'all existed. Really.
I know, man. It's weird, right? And that's by design to a certain degree, right? Like, I don't know. It's the older I get, the more it changes, and the more it's like I think about it differently. And it's like, all right, was this as, a lot of it is yes, but like, was this as racially tense as I remember it? Or was a lot of it like, I don't know. A lot of it feels now like, all right, well, when you're around other Jewish people in this area that is anti-Semitic or racist or whatever, using air quotes, it definitely a racist area. But like, it's hard to tell like how much of this is actually things that I've seen and know, and how much of this is something that someone else has told me for some kind of effect, right? Like growing up, the whole idea of like, all right, you're going to get kidnapped. Period. Like as a child, that's what they tell you everywhere around the world, no matter who you are. It's like, if you're not careful, you're going to get kidnapped. Right. And that is the worst thing that can happen when you're 6 years old. But I don't know anybody that got kidnapped. Right. It's like, how serious of a threat is this? If all of my friends are right around.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
I think about that a lot, man, because I've done a lot of unpacking of sort of attitudes toward race and ethnicity and religion, based on how I grew up. And, my therapist and I have done all kinds of work on that shit, and I've dedicated my life to trying to combat what I saw looking back as like really intense racism. Like when I say I didn't know about y'all, I literally mean like, I thought that Jewish people existed in the Bible and like World War II, and there weren't contemporary Jews. Like that's, and not only that, but in Sunday school, I was taught that you're going to hell, like that kind of shit is heavy, man. Like that's, I was scared of going to hell, but I was supposed to be like safe from it. I can't. And then I'm told
you have an out.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like, because my best friend growing up, still my best friend, is Catholic or was Catholic, and it's the same framework, right? I feel like it's just guilt in different places. That's all it is. Like both religions, but Jews kind of embrace the guilt. At least American Jews. That I don't know. At least when I was growing up, it felt like, all right, we'll embrace our guilt, we'll embrace our shame, and that's kind of who we are as a defense mechanism. Whereas Catholics, it was like, oh, but we've got to fight against this guilt all the time, and we have to earn God's trust and all of this. And I don't know, I think it just set this different mindset up for me and then a bunch of the more religious, like, Christian Catholic friends I had.
Man, it's really interesting. Another theme that comes up, and this came up in the research a lot. You talk very, very openly about your alcoholism,
Yeah.
and it's rampant throughout my family. It's something that I have to be really careful with. I wrestle with, and I have a very complicated relationship with alcohol. And
I think everybody does.
yeah,
It's funny. I've never, no matter how much anybody drinks or doesn't drink, I've never heard anybody say, I have a great relationship with alcohol. Not once. And that's not to say that they have a bad relationship with alcohol. It's just no one ever introduces it as like, yeah, I fucking crush shit at drinking, dude. I'm the best. Like, the only people that say they're the best at drinking are the ones that can't drink anymore.
yeah. I mean, I think Bert Kreischer would have something to say about that.
Sure. Well, yeah. That's fair. But really, is he okay? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
man, it's an on and off struggle for me since I was like a teenager.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
some of the things that you went through are just wild, man. I mean, it's amazing.
I'm so curious what the research is, and like what you saw.
I mean, some of the stories about like you falling asleep on the subway and people cutting your pockets and like how.
Oh, dude, that's when I felt like it was safer. Honestly,
really.
yeah, man, because like I'm from Atlanta, right, and I started drinking in Atlanta, and at least in New York, it's like there are people around at all hours of the night. They might not like stop you if they stop anybody from cutting your pockets out and stealing your wallet. But if somebody's like getting hurt or beat up or something's fucked up, someone will say something eventually.
Oh
Whereas,
wow.
in Atlanta, it's like, dude, so many nights I would like, there's a picture someone sent me of me like just passed out at a bus stop. And it's like I know that there were nights where I definitely got shit canned and was like, I can totally drive. It's the stakes were a little different, and I feel like I don't know. At least in New York, it's like I'm not driving a car. People are around. It's a lot harder for me to really fucking hurt myself.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Are my dogs
But
incredibly loud in your ears right now? Is that coming through on the
no,
recording? Okay. Okay, good.
yeah, no,
Um,
they're good.
yeah, I'm going through basically a divorce, and we
Oh
have
shit, I'm
dogs.
sorry.
Thanks, man. And
Yeah, fuck.
but I still live with my ex, but she's out of town, and so the dogs are just like freaking the fuck out at
Oh
everything,
yeah, yeah. Oh
So
shit.
they're
Right. No,
so
they're all good, dude. I'm
okay.
so sorry to hear that, though, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's been the hardest, and I wanted to get into that too. Like, it's been the hardest period of my life.
yeah,
But you brought up something that I think is interesting, which is I think part of what saved me from like really having a problem with alcohol
yeah,
is I'm terrified of jail, and I
dude.
live in Florida, and so you can't get fucking anywhere without a car. And so if
Right,
I'm taking an Uber or I'm staying home, and so
dude.
like
Yeah,
I think that makes it, what you just said makes a lot of sense. How like I could see if I lived in New York, it'd be a bigger issue.
dude. It's true because like in Atlanta, I mean, man, I think the first like I don't know, the last 3 years I lived in Atlanta was when it's when the drinking was starting to really pick up, I think. And man, I just remember like anytime I left the house, it was desperately looking for someone else to drive or, walking somewhere just because I couldn't spend the money on an Uber, but I knew I was going to get drunk wherever I went and I didn't want to go to jail
Mm-hmm.
because it was the same thing. Like there were a couple nights where I just got super brazen about it, but for the most part, it was like, fuck, I can't drive my car, but I need to find a way to get to where I need to be without spending money on an Uber. And it's insane the kind of like hoops I would jump through just to go drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, and that just kind of fades away when you move to New York. Because the obstacle stops being how do I get somewhere and how am I going to afford to get somewhere?
Wow.
Yeah. But it was
Yeah.
fun for a while, dude. I talk about it like it wasn't the most fucking fun I ever had. Also, I'm pretty realistic about it. Like I did cool shit. I did a lot of cool shit. It almost killed me, but I did a lot of cool shit.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you're able, like from what I'm gathering, from the interviews I've listened to, and then from your album, you're still doing lots of really cool shit. And I'm really interested in how you, because to me it seems like, so I'm terrified of drugs too, like
Yeah,
because I know how much alcohol I can consume. I know what my limit is, and even though I have a bit of the family problem, I'm at that balance point where like
yeah,
I drink too much, but like I know when to take a break and I'm able to take a break.
yeah.
I'm fortunate in that way, you know, where I don't have the full on problem. Like my dad will have a drink and end up in Mississippi and not know how he got there.
That's where I'm at. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm somewhere down the ladder somewhere where like I definitely drink too much, but I know how to catch it. I know how to take a break and I'm able to. But
Right.
drugs scare the shit out of me. But you still take drugs, but you don't fuck with alcohol. And
Yeah,
that
man.
is fascinating to me. Can you talk
I
about
think
that?
that that's kind of well, it starts as the same idea, right? It's like everybody talks about California sober, right? Like I'm going to smoke
Mhm.
pot and I'm just not going to drink. And I did that for a while, and then it started to be. I mean, it's really kind of limited itself back down. I'm trying to cool down a little bit, but it's like smoking a lot of pot was a big way that I was able to like quit drinking.
Mm.
It's just like a big way for
Mm.
me to fill the space without losing all control. Because that was the problem with booze. It was like I would start drinking, and then the next morning I'd wake up somewhere and be like, I have no idea what happened. But
Yeah.
that's never going to happen because I got too high. Like I might sit on my couch and like cancel a plan, but I'm never going to just like I don't know. I'm not worried about getting robbed because I'm too stoned on the train.
Uh,
And then it's also, I like psychedelics. I'm a big fan of mushrooms. And it's kind of it's just fun as hell. And I don't know, it's that like I feel like I drank because I couldn't regulate myself in any real way.
mm.
And when you stop drinking and it's like, well, I still don't know how to do that. Uh, the weed numbed it, but the mushrooms kind of brought me this like, all right, well, you can think about things this way instead, and it's not this way the I have to get fucked up all the time. It's why am I looking to get fucked up all the time? Because
Mm.
I started drinking when I was a kid, and like the first time I tried to quit, I was 17, and it was 23, and I was going like in and out of the program essentially, and it never worked. So I was like, well, let's try this out, and it's working for the most part. I smoke a lot of pot, but I don't know. I don't really do much else anymore. Every now and then, I'm sure if acid came into the picture, I'm sure I would be more than willing to fuck around.
Well,
Uh,
I'm not ready to
yeah.
talk about fish yet, Max, but we'll get to that.
Oh, brother, man, that is okay. Yeah.
This isn't technically a music podcast, but people think it is. So you and I are going to have to talk about fish a little at
Absolutely,
some
dude.
point.
Absolutely.
But I do want to I want to dive a little bit deeper into sort of I'm curious, like when you were really young, you've talked about how you basically you had a breakdown essentially, right? Like,
Yeah. I had a few.
yeah. Did you get to a point where you felt those coming on? Did you have like a sense that it was coming, or was that the kind of thing that just hit you like a brick wall?
Oh shit, man. Well, the first two, I think they kind of came out of nowhere. Um, I was really young. The first one I wouldn't even say was a breakdown as much as a misunderstanding. And in like looking back on it now, it's like, yeah, I was 17 years old and angsty and whatever. And what I think is a breakdown is way less severe. But then I did have a real one that came out of fucking nowhere. That like I wound up in like a psych hospital for a bit, and it was just basically a breakup that I could not handle because I was drinking so much,
Mm.
and I couldn't regulate my emotions around it. So it would just be these big swings up and down, and I'd be drinking all the time, and it was a disaster. Um, and looking back on it now, it's like I came out of that and I did not do anything good for myself after. I really didn't treat it like I should have, I feel like. And it's kind of a wonder I didn't die right then and there. But then afterwards, I did try and like quit drinking, and I was going to the program and stuff like that, and then I don't know, I just kind of decided I was all right. Started drinking again, and it took a really, really, really bad show in Cincinnati for me to be like, I can't fucking do this anymore.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Didn't you go back? Did you go back? You went back to Cincinnati. Was that like a pilgrimage, like recently,
No,
maybe?
dude, I go back a lot.
Okay,
I fucking love Cincinnati.
dude.
That town rips.
Yeah.
It's so sick. And
This
the
is
comics there.
this is my
Yeah, hell
King of
yeah,
Virginia, but
dude.
I'm a huge Reds fan.
Really? Oh, the
Yeah.
Kentucky. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, one of the comics that I always crash is that Billy DeVore. He's got a Reds podcast. It's we're all big sports nerds, and it
Yeah.
rules. But I go there like twice a year if I can. I just really like the comics there. I like the people there. It's just a fun town.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but like, I went a few years ago, and man, I was just way too fucked up. I did one show, and I was like, all right, we're good. I'm going to start partying now. Did a second show, and I just bombed so hard.
Mm.
Just ate shit. And like, every time I think about drinking now, I will listen to this set again and just remember like, I was supposed to do 30 minutes. I did 18 minutes of stand up, and like, I just bailed out. I couldn't handle it. There's a point in the middle of it where I can hear myself like off mic being like, no, you love doing comedy. This is what you love. Just keep going. It was so fucking bad.
Oh my God, yeah.
Uh, and then that was kind of it. And that was in like July, August, or whatever of 2021. So not super long ago, but long enough where it's like I can actively see how my life is a million times better without it, which is kind of a bummer. You really hope it's not going to change your life that drastically, and it's like, no, it wasn't really that big of a fucking problem, and then it's pretty apparent very quickly.
Oh, that's got to be tough, but also it also sounds like it's pretty. I mean, it's also a beautiful thing, of course, right? So I can see how that would be tough, but
I'm also, though, what's weird about it is though I'm just now at a point where it's like I'm accepting the fact that I don't drink anymore. I don't know. I didn't think of it as a permanent thing for a while, and a lot of that is I don't know. It's weird now thinking about how do I become a person now, right? Like I'm past the point of all right, I quit drinking. I'm now at the point of all right, you should have established by now what kind of a human being you are, and it's like a race to find out now, which has been bizarre, super fucking weird.
man, that's interesting. I wonder is it like when you're drinking, that's part of your identity, and then when you get
100%.
sober, and then sobriety is part of your identity, right? Like,
Well, yes, for a lot of people, I like actively push against that because not for any other reason than for me, it just helps not to think about it as much. But drinking was my entire personality for so long. It was, well, I'm the guy that's going to get the most fucked up at the party. I'm the guy that's going to not even out drink anybody, but I'm going to make sure that by the time everybody leaves the bar, I'm asleep in a booth, right? Like I just have to shut it down. And then by the end of it, it was a lot of just drinking alone. I mean, not even by the end of it, throughout, I was drinking alone regardless. And I think the thing now is not making sobriety my identity, but not pushing other things to that same extreme as an identity. It's like I have a really hard time just doing something a little bit. Anything that I like get into is an obsession, and it's really fucking intense, and then it's gone. It can be I get into bowling or something like that, and then for 6 months, that's all I fucking want to do. That's all I do, and then I never bowl again. And it's just like I'll replace all kinds of shit with that. Same with, but like booze was the big one, and it took me a long time to get rid of that one.
oh man, so sorry. Just a second.
You're good, dude. You are all good.
Okay, cool. I have been using the wrong microphone this whole time.
No shit. You
Yeah.
sound fine.
I sound okay?
Yeah.
Oh, fucking A, man. Yeah, I've been using like just
The
the
computer
Mac.
mic?
Yeah. That sounds okay.
Yeah.
I'll be damned. Damn, Mike. Okay. I think now does that sound any,
Oh,
is that
hey,
different?
try again.
Is
That's
that,
different now.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right,
Still
everybody.
sounded all right. Yeah.
Everybody join the Patreon so that I can hire a producer.
There it
Please.
is, dude.
Patreon.com. Marinade podcast, everybody.
I fucked up so many podcasts of my own, dude. This is yours, at least doesn't sound like you weren't there.
Yeah, I mean it's funny once you work. I do want to talk about your podcast as well, but like it's
Sure.
funny like once you've done this for a while, how it's interesting how my standards have changed over the years. And like,
Yeah, dude.
like when I first started, I was like, well, I got it on tape, cool. And now I'm like fiddling with this and there's dead air because I'm too worried about the difference in the sound.
It's funny. Like I've kind of reversed. So I've had because is this your first podcast?
Yeah.
So the first one I did on my own, and it was before like how long is this one? This one's been going for a while though, right?
Yeah, I started recording in 2016 and my first episode was 2017.
Yeah, dude. So it's like before video was a part of podcasting, before when it was really just like I can record two people talking to each other. I know how to do that.
Mhm.
And now it's just gotten so intense and so confusing that like I mean not having a producer has been an absolute fucking, miserable experience for me. And I've had three of these things and I don't know how to make them sound good.
Yeah.
It's just insane. Fucking
Yeah.
insane.
No, I mean, I think mine for the most part does sound good. I prefer when I can
Yeah.
catch up with somebody in person because I have more control, right?
Of course. Yeah.
And there's not Zoom in between, the compression's not there, all that shit, like
They're
I
not
have a
wearing
good setup.
AirPods.
They're not
Yeah,
wearing
yeah, yeah. For sure,
AirPods,
for
you
sure.
know.
No, I get it loud and clear, dude. You've made your point. But
Just and for the next person, Max, if you could just do them the fucking courtesy of a
absolutely, dude.
USB mic.
Absolutely. No, no, it is on me. I mean, it sucks. I do have one, but everything's all fucked up.
It's
Our
all good.
podcast just yeah, 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 yeah.
It's all good, man. The number of times that folks have AirPods, but it always comes out great, and the conversation's really
Sure.
what it comes down to. And I think that's part of the charm of my show, anyway. Is like honestly, people appreciate that it is authentic. Like
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and I think that's part
No,
of
for
what comes
sure.
through in your show too. In the minivan is like
Oh,
it's
thanks, dude.
it's I just got into it and as I'm getting ready for
Yeah.
this, right? So I've listened to several episodes
Oh,
like in
hell
a
yeah,
row,
dude.
just getting ready for this. Yeah, and it's gonna be in my regular rotation now. Like I'm
Oh
really
man,
excited.
thank you. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're breaking for a little while,
yeah, I heard that.
this is why everything's kind of packed up right now. Yeah, but thanks, dude. That's like it's my favorite thing.
Okay, talk
Yeah,
about it then. Yeah, I'm interested in like the inspiration behind it. You and your good friend for a long time, right?
yeah, forever. So basically, yeah, it's me and my best friend Michael Rowland, who's another comic. He's the guy that got me into stand up when we were kids. I've known him forever. He was my very first bully. If you want to talk about like growing up in the South, he was my very first bully, and then he became my best friend. And I don't know. It was like our entire we like were inseparable for years. Like we worked at the same Dunkin' Donuts in high school, and we would drive each other to work. And that was kind of the impetus for the podcast. Is like every morning we would drive to work at like 5 a.m. to Dunkin' Donuts, and we'd show each other new music in his mom's minivan and smoke weed, and it was a blast. And then I don't know. A couple of years ago, we were walking, and with a bunch of people, and it's like when Michael and I are in a group together, we start talking differently than everybody else. We just have this kind of like, we'll throw in the deep Southern accent real fast. And this is just kind of this secret language sort of a deal. And it always makes people laugh and we don't realize we're doing it. And then one day we were just kind of like, hi. And he was like, why don't we just start a podcast? And that was kind of it. And now we loosely try and stick to the let's show each other music thing.
Mm-hmm.
but it is more of just like, okay, this is our weekly coffee now. We have a reason to hang out with each other every Sunday, and then see what happens with it. It's very low pressure. It's very low stakes.
It's so fun. There was an episode I was listening to. It may have been the most recent one where you were talking about how you were taking a break, where you and you kind of talked a little bit about like not worrying about the intro and shit like that too. We were just talking about production and stuff. But
dude, it's crazy. So
it's fun.
Because like that's the thing. It is true though. People would they care more. Like obviously production is important. It does make a difference, but if people like what they like, and it doesn't matter how it sounds, it's like if the content is good and the product is good, people will like it.
Yeah.
It's we make zero money on ours. We don't do like by all means our success is in the negatives. But it's the most fun thing in the world, dude. And the people that like it, and that's fine.
There's a fun moment. You were just talking about the Southern accent thing. There's a fun moment where you were talking about the Southern accent when things get uncomfortable, like when your existence comes up, and like I can. If I'm drinking, my Southern accent comes out.
Yeah.
If I'm uncomfortable, it comes out. If I'm talking about something stereotypically Southern, like if I'm talking about like trucks, like
yeah. Oh hell yeah, dude! I love trucks. I love truck nuts, dude. I'm anything that comes on 4 wheels but can have 6 is ideal for me, dude. I love that shit. And I tell you, dude, I didn't have a Southern accent until I moved to New York. I like actively fought against it my entire life. Like, no, you're not one of these people. And then as soon as I got up here, I was like, yeah, hell yeah, dude. We do crazy shit down there. It's so silly, man. But that is totally true. Like Michael and I, when anything gets uncomfortable, we start talking in a deep Southern accent.
Yeah. I kind of went the opposite where like if you hear my dad talk, like, I mean, it's thick, he's from Horse Cave, Kentucky, and it sounds like he's from Horse Cave, Kentucky.
Sure.
And that's how I sounded until a kid I was at baseball camp. I was at Florida State baseball camp in the 7th grade. And this kid goes, "Where the hell are you from? Tennessee?" And I stopped and I was like, "No, I'm from Kentucky." And it just like in that moment, I was like,
I think I can tell the difference between a Kentucky and a Tennessee. I think that kid is
fuck that kid,
visually, right? Fucking idiot. There's another, There's do you know Stuart Huff?
No.
Oh man, okay. Drew, I think would back me up on. I think Stuart is like the most important Southern comic.
Okay.
Period. He's from Kentucky and he's got the thickest accent I've ever heard. But he's brilliant. He's so fucking funny. But he's got a whole thing about it. He's like, I understand. I say finger instead of finger and all that. And he always just makes me laugh so hard. But super thick Kentucky accent.
And antenna is the only Kentuckyism that instead of antenna is the only thing I held on to. I'm stubbornly not letting go of antenna.
How often are you using the word antenna in?
As often as I can. As often as I can.
For sure, dude. Yeah. I could tell. Going into a Best Buy and just bothering people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just at the CB store all the time. I'm just
and you're the only one. It's you and like the chief of police. That sounds like a fun Saturday.
It does. Yeah. It's in between college football games. I'm just in there with the chief of police, Antennas.
Yep.
Antenna.
That rips.
Yeah.
No, I didn't have one until I like came up here, and now I'm just like, this is what makes me a little different, I guess. So I'm gonna latch on to it real hard. And, I don't know.
It's funny.
Yeah, it's funny, and it's also like, it's funny because you're a country guy too. It's like seeing this like kind of natural resurgence or like popularization of country music. I'm getting like up here, I'm the only guy that liked it before it was cool. So now I'm like the coolest guy in town. It's very I'm just leaning into all the Southern shit as hard as I can up here.
That's great. Yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
huge fan of what's happening there. It's really okay. That might be a good segue to start talking about music, which is like,
Yeah.
I think I've been talking about this a lot, and I'm interested in your thoughts on it. And Drew talks about it quite a bit as well. That the resurgence of that sort of Americana thing, and I trace it back to Jason Isbell's Southeastern and how that was kind of this watershed moment, right? This music existed for generations, but Southeastern kind of
Yeah.
like catapulted it closer to something mainstream. And then, Drew talks about the fact that like, he's always so cynical about capitalism, and he ain't wrong, but
No,
how,
no. Yeah.
how like the industry was going to eventually commodify that sound. And so now
Yes.
you got all these guys who are selling out arenas and stuff that, are making good music, but it's not Jason Isbell and it's not BJ
No.
Barham. So I'm
No,
interested in your
dude.
thoughts on that.
Well, I agree with you too, because like I was, I was growing up listening to a lot of like Towns Van Zandt and Merle, like Outlaw Country was a big thing for me. Like right when I remember when I was like 16 is when I really found it. When I started driving, and I was like chain smoking cigarettes, listening to Merle Haggard. Like I fucking get it, man. And then it's just I have no idea what the fuck he's actually talking about.
Yeah.
Um, but then like I got into like Justin Towns Earl, and then I got into Jason Isbell, like Southeastern. I have a fucking Different Days tattoo from Southeastern. Like that album changed my life the first time I heard it.
Yeah.
And it's cool and I like it, but I don't think Drew's wrong. I feel like a lot of these guys are going to or have gone through some kind of commercialization, and then they'll come out of it the other side and it'll be good again. I thought Weather Vanes, Isbell's last album, was great. I love that one. I didn't love the one before it. And I kind of was like, oh fuck, is he losing his fastball here? And I don't think he is. I think he's right back where he was. But like I think so many of those guys, it's hard when you see guys like Isbell, who I was a big Drive-By Truckers fan. That's how I knew who he was.
Yeah.
So watching these guys grow into these massive stars, and by all means, like this is what they should be doing. People should. That's ideally what I want, is for everybody to like these guys that I fucking love, and for them to be able to make a living. But it's a little weird now, where it's like I agree with what Jason Isbell tweets and how he thinks politically and all of that, but it's like, but I don't need that to shape how I think about him as a singer songwriter, And it's like, I don't know. I already buy into who he is. I don't need more.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just worry that I don't want all of my music to be completely like divisive. I really want to be able to put something on and not have somebody in the car and not have somebody be like, I was just that fucking libtard on Twitter. It's like, no, dude, this is just a guy whose music I fucking really love and means a lot to me. And can we just listen to it for that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to go too deep down this because this could turn into a Jason Isbell podcast. People might argue that it borderline is, but
that's more than fine. I mean, I am the biggest fan. Like,
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, same, dude. I mean, there's a poster right there, and like,
is that a tour poster?
Yeah, it's from when Isbell was first kicked out of the Truckers, and it's Will Hogue, Jason Isbell, and Centromatic at the Social here in Orlando. And I had Will Johnson on, and he remembered that because it doesn't have a date on it. And in the interview, he remembered the whole show, and he told me all about it.
That's so fucking cool, dude. Centromatic is another one of those groups that like people just don't listen. They have a song called Atlanta that every time I hear that one, it's like that one brings me right back to the city. And I don't know how I'm happy Isbell is the breakout star of that group, but it's like how he was the guy still throws me for a loop.
I think he's the best of them. I mean, no disrespect to Will, for example, either of those Wills, who are both incredible. Sure. I mean, I am of the camp that Reunions was a step above the Nashville sound. I thought
Reunions.
I thought it was better. Yeah, no, that's the one you said you didn't like as much.
No, what's the thing he did? The Georgia Blue.
Yeah, Georgia Blue.
Is that the album?
Is that what you were talking about? Not Reunions?
Yeah.
That one was
enough. I thought
okay.
Running with Our Eyes Closed, I thought was one of his best songs he's ever written. Mm-hmm. there are a couple that I really like, but for the most Southeastern and like If It Takes a Lifetime really fucked me up when I heard them. And I keep looking for that. And I don't think I've gotten it since If It I like the Nashville sound.
You're talking about something more than free when you say It Takes a
Yes,
Lifetime?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, because I remember having those two on CDs still, like in the car. And I think that's the other thing. Those came out, and then I moved and didn't have a car anymore. Nashville Sound came out right after I moved here. And not having it in the car, I think, was a big difference.
Dude, I have 3 copies of Weather Vanes. I have 2 different versions of the vinyl, and I have the CD. And I bought the CD on my way to Bonnaroo this year. I covered Bonnaroo, and I was on my way there.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, and I stopped in Chattanooga, and I picked up, because somebody had recommended a record store, Will Payne Harrison, actually. Shout out Will. Wonderful songwriter in his own right. Fuck, what's the name of that place? I can picture it and everything. It's over kind of like in an industrial area town. It kind of stands by itself.
Yeah.
It was dope though. Like there was this it was a fun sort of. There were characters all about. It was like that kind of.
It was wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
A weird place. It's so cool.
It had it was a record store with a tattoo shop in the back, a tattoo parlor. In the back.
Oh hell yeah! That sounds awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. It was really cool.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, it's fun. Yeah, it's a fun memory. And so I picked up a copy of Weather Vanes and I just wore that thing. I basically listened to just that on the way there and back, even though I'd already heard it a million times. Yeah, I think it's his best work. I mean, I really do. But
maybe I'll give it another listen because like. I remember like the first time I heard Palmetto Rose like in the car, like just driving, being like, oh shit, he did it again. My man did it again. Because I really was like, there's no way he's going to top Southeastern. Just absolutely no way. And then I just remember being like, he is the best.
Dude, we're getting ultra nerdy here, but I think our listeners will appreciate it. There's a live. I got to see him in 2015 at the St. Augustine Amphitheater. I've seen him a million times there, and they. I during the pandemic, the height of the pandemic, they were selling those live recordings on Bandcamp.
Yeah.
It was right. So I actually photographed that show and wrote about it, and so I was there, very present.
That's
and
so
like.
Cool.
Yeah, and so I have the download and I burned it to a CD and I have that in my car right now and it opens with Palmetto Rose.
That's so well, that was the tour because there's that House of Blues Boston video. Have you seen that concert?
Yeah,
That's that same tour and he opens with Palmetto Rose there too. I fucking love that man. And because I found out about him through Truckers and then like JT. I'm a big Justin Townsend. He's my favorite.
Yeah.
I could fucking talk about that guy for years. And it's, man, oh man, dude, that tour was really fucking special. I remember that one because I remember seeing him play, was it the Fox or the Tavern? Fox in Atlanta, I think.
So real quick, this Zoom is about to stop because we don't have enough Patreon patrons yet. Everybody, patreon.com/Marinade podcast. Can we keep going though? Click the same link and keep going if you have time. Okay, great. I'm going to end this one and then we'll just click on the same link.
Let's do it.
All right, awesome. We're back and you still just have AirPods.
Yes, sir.
So what you just said made me think of something that this is kind of a vulnerable thing I'm about to say, but hey, it's a podcast. So there's that song When We Were Close on Weather Vanes. Right. About Justin. And, I mentioned earlier, I'm going through this like impossibly difficult time right now. Like it's the hardest thing I've ever dealt with. I mean, 10 years with the same person, your whole life together, like trying to sort it all out, like barely holding it together. But thankfully I have a good support system and I'm holding it together. But that record has been a constant companion through this whole thing. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, and you mentioned something earlier that ties into a lyric in that song. So he talks about how there's a line where he goes, "And your shirt costs more than your guitar," because Justin was always known for his fashion, right? And like how serious
cheap guitars
and cheap guitars,
those recording king shitty guitars,
yeah. And so that line, I was listening to it the other day, and I've been thinking about, you talked about like not doing stuff, nice things for yourself, like back at when you were really, you would get out of a thing and then you wouldn't do a nice thing for yourself.
Yeah.
So folks who know my online presence know I've been doing this, but I haven't explained it. So I'm about to explain it. That line inspired me to really lean into fashion. That's my
Oh,
like
dude.
positive coping mechanism
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah. I love that, man. That's because that is something in the past that is definitely fucking how I fixed a lot of problems.
Mm,
Was I got really into expensive jeans. I still am. I still like jeans are one of the few things where it's like I will spend like $250 to buy a pair of jeans, and it will make me feel better about everything. That shit rips, and the Justin Towns Earl style is the coolest. I
coolest.
wish I could pull it off. I wish if I could afford to, and if I had the body to, I would only wear the suits that he wore. I think nobody looks as cool as JTE does.
No, 100% agree.
Yeah,
100% agree.
yeah,
I'm trying to take elements of different people that I think are cool and try to
yeah.
fit it to this like tiny slender body I've got.
What are you
Like
finding? Like, what are
well
you finding like that works?
well, I've always wanted to kind of lean into like I think for years we talked about, being Southern and how for years I kind of ran away from a lot of that.
Yeah,
And now I'm just embracing a lot of it. So
you are
like
screaming at the choir, dude. Yeah.
so like there's a hat back here. I'll grab it real quick.
Yeah.
It's on top of my fantasy football trophy that I have to give up since I finished in last place this year.
Oh no, fuck.
Yeah, I won
When it
last year
rains,
though.
it pours.
Yeah, man. So
Oh shit, dude.
how
That
dope is that?
rips.
I got this at Nikki Lane's vintage store in Nashville. I went to Nashville on a little Eat, Pray, Love trip
That's
over
so fucking
Christmas.
cool,
Isn't that
dude.
dope? So this kind of thing is something I've been feeling like I could pull off for years, but
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
always like,
yeah.
no, because it's too like I'm gonna be judged for being too Southern or trying too hard or whatever. Now I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck it. I'm 43
Dude,
years old and I'm going for it.
why not, man? I'm at the point like I'm doing the same thing with rings. I've been dancing around wearing rings for about 5 years now. I've had
Fuck
a
yeah.
couple that I'll put them on at home and be like, one day you're gonna have the balls to walk outside, but not today. It's, but yeah, dude, that's a sick hat. That's the JTE thing though, that Southern gentleman style. Because like he was going to, I nerd out about this shit. He was going to get suits made by like Billy Reed and stuff, and Billy Reed is this Muscle Shoals fashion designer, and he had this really cool listening room in
Mm,
what was that fucking town? Somewhere like right outside of Muscle Shoals, like Madison or something, that had comedy for a bit, and it was the
mm.
coolest show. Uh,
Nice.
I just yeah, man, I love the Southern fashion stuff. I think that hat rips.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's been
That's
really
yeah,
fun. Like I stopped in a vintage store here in town the other day and I've been in there a million times, but I always like sort of
yeah.
walk in sheepishly and then I just sort of like I don't
I
know
know
what
exactly,
I'm you know.
dude. Because I don't want anybody to ask if I need help.
Okay,
It's
so the owner did. And I
uh
and I was like, fuck it, I'm leaning in. I'm like, yes, I
yeah,
need help. Here's what I'm looking for. And I explained everything I was looking for. And she's like, okay, here, try this, try this. And
yeah,
she's
yeah,
pulling the
yeah,
shirt back and she's like, you could wear it just like this, or you could do this. And she's teaching me how to tuck different ways and stuff. And I'm like,
yeah,
ooh,
yeah.
I
The
am
suits,
into
dude.
this. This is a
Ah,
healthy coping mechanism.
I love it, dude. I love it because that's where my shame and guilt goes. Is I can't ask this person for help, but
Mm,
it's like, damn, dude, I think this rips. This is huge.
yeah.
Because when I got into it, I got really into the idea of like you find your core group of clothes, right? Like I'm really, I wear a couple blank shirts. I always say I don't wear short sleeves. That's my only thing.
Mm.
I'm afraid of short sleeves. I'm afraid people look at my arms and it never does me any favors. Uh, so it's just like as long as I've got a solid shirt and short sleeve and long sleeves over it, I'll be okay.
Yeah. Oh man,
Yeah.
I think similar. Over off screen here, you can't quite see it, but I got about 40 trucker hats, right? Like
Hmm.
that's just sort of a thing that at some point I went, okay, this is the amount of Southern that I'm willing to completely embrace,
Totally. What's your
right?
favorite trucker hat?
Ooh. Um, I have a driving and crying hat.
Oh
That
fuck, hell yeah,
yeah. I have this. I interviewed Kevin Kinney for the podcast. Look at that fucking thing.
dude, that's so cool.
Isn't that dope?
That's so cool.
It's got this patch on it for folks listening. It says Atlanta, Georgia, 1985 on it. There's these like motor heads, these like pistons that are
Yeah,
these
yeah.
flaming fucking pistons. But I bought that when I interviewed Kevin Kinney. Gosh, 2018 now, I guess. But that's probably
Shit.
my favorite. I have a new Mike and the Moon Pies.
Oh, let's see it. Oh, I like that one a lot.
Isn't that great?
That one's very cool.
That's brand new.
Yeah, I've got a JTE one that's new that I like, and then I've got a Rockstar Energy one I've had for about 20 years that
Nice.
I just can't get rid of.
Yeah. That's
But
awesome.
yeah, dude, I love a trucker hat.
Oh man, yeah. And so that was always like a t-shirt, trucker hat, jeans, and boots was kind of like my go-to. That was sort of
Yeah,
my
yeah,
go-to for
yeah.
a long time. But now I'm leaning into dress up. I want to play dress up. I want to like
Dude,
look
I
good.
get it. I
Yeah.
get it. I wore button downs almost exclusively for years. Um, I don't know why I even stopped, but like, yeah, man,
Yeah.
I get it, dude. That shit really does change your entire outlook on life. I really believe it. It's that whole look good, feel good thing. It really does. Like if you put on something, it doesn't even have to be expensive, but something that like just fits you the right way, it'll change your entire life, dude. It's like finding the right pair of glasses. When you find a pair of glasses that works for you, it really does. Everything changes.
Those glasses look great on you.
Thanks, but yours do too, dude.
They're
That's the
they're
thing.
brand new.
They look great, dude. These are
Thanks.
pretty new too. It's like, yeah, once you find a pair that fits your face the right way, changes everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
man.
and it's funny, I think a lot of times as a Southern man, like going back to that theme is that I feel like there was a certain element of like it's not your job to look nice, right? It's the women that are supposed to look nice. You just are out there in the world and you embracing anything about like your appearance or whatever. Well, that's gay and you can't be gay.
Yeah.
And it's like I
Well,
think
yeah.
I this is a vain thing, but I'm just going to say it honestly. Like these glasses, one of the things I like about it is that I like my eyes. I think I have
Yeah.
attractive eyes. And so I'm like,
Yeah.
well, these show off my eyes. And for years, I never thought about something like that. But now I'm actually considering something like that. But I never would have thought about that before because it's like, well, you can't do that, right? You're a
No,
man.
dude. Well, that's the thing. Like any type, that's that whole toxic masculinity thing. Because God forbid show that you care about something, right? Like,
Right.
ooh, I don't know. It's little things like I don't because there's a fine line between like I'm not there's no like shaming or anything, but it's like yeah, there's some things that I don't like about myself that it's like oh I can figure out how to dress this up a little bit so I don't have to worry about it. But if I did that when I was 13, yeah, dude, it's like you fucking queer, dude. What do you
Yeah.
think you're doing? Well, like, and
Yeah.
then it's so funny because like one of my best friends growing up is a gay guy, and he is the most disgusting dude I've ever met. And it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
he'd be drooling over himself or some shit, and I'd have like jeans that fit, and it's like, you're a fucking freak, dude. Like,
Yeah.
it's just crazy. And it's the same thing that translates to anything. And I think that's why people are afraid to be passionate about anything outwardly.
Yeah.
It's like, showing that you care about anything, even if it's not like the idea of like you're gay, dude. It's like, it's cringy now. That's what we call it. It's all shifted to cringy.
Mhm.
And I don't think it has to be. Like,
Mm-mm.
I don't know, dude. It's no one makes fun of me when I talk about like when they see that I have a Braves tattoo or I have I wear a Braves hat. But if people hear about fish, it's like, well, you're a fucking weirdo, dude. It's the same thing. The same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect segue. Perfect segue.
Sure.
We usually
Yeah, dude.
we usually end on what you're getting down on, which is the art that has you fired up at the moment. But you've made it abundantly
Ooh.
clear on podcast after podcast that you are really fired up up fish.
I'm
So I
fired
wonder.
up about fish, but also, I mean, I'm fired up about everything. I'm going to go see Iron Claw tonight. I'm excited about that.
Okay.
I mean, I watch a ton of fucking movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, fish is definitely as a chokehold on my life right now. And it's It's really ruining me in a lot of ways, dude. It's my favorite thing. It truly has become my favorite thing, and I've only been into it for like a little over a year, like a skosh over a year. And I have completely thrown myself into it. And yeah, have you ever seen Fish live?
Yeah. I saw him
Outside of Bonnaroo, though.
No, I saw him in Virginia Beach. What is that? The Merriweather Pavilion there? There's like maybe that's not it. It's an amphitheater there in Virginia Beach area. Or maybe it wasn't. It was in Virginia. Maybe Virginia Beach isn't right. Maybe. Oh fuck! This was a while ago, and I was drinking. This is like 2012. My buddy Patrick. Shout out to Patrick Lehan, who is just absolutely fantastic. He's a piano teacher, classically trained pianist, and an amazing guy and an amazing musician. But he was really into Fish, and dude, for years, like to me in college especially, like all my buddies got into Fish, right? Like everybody got heavy into Fish, and I was like, these fucking dirty hippies.
That's who I was, dude. That was me the entire time.
And then I slowly started to open up, and then I saw him, and I was like, "Oh, I get it."
Yeah, dude. I don't know, man. I've never been into jam bands. I remember in high school the kids that wore tie dye and smelled like shit, but that were really into it. I was like, yeah, but your dad's own like used car lots. Like, you're not like, what are you doing, dude? Like, I get it. And I just had this like serious. I still have some judgment towards some of the people. Not once I'm at a show, it's the people and how they talk about it outside of it. Like, but I get it. The reason I judge is I'm kind of like, well, keep that part a secret, dude. That's not for everybody. Like, yeah, I totally agree with the idea of like, I completely lose myself at Fish shows, dude. It's. I went and did the New Year's run this year. They did 4 nights at MSG. And there was a point where I took one of my best friends who's like a new father, and he lives in LA now. I don't see him much. And I took him to see Fish, and I was like, dude, I think this is the real me, is who I am at those shows. Just like dancing with no rhythm, fucking like, it rips, dude. It fucking rules. It's like, it's a different part of music that I thought that I enjoyed. Like, I have always been a sucker for the singer-songwriter people, for, you know, all kinds of lyrical shit. Fish is not lyrical, and they're open about that. And I did not, and like, I've always liked post-rock. I didn't understand, like, I'm a huge Godspeed fan. Like, Godspeed You Black Emperors was my initial Fish. I'd seen them a bunch. They're the best. But I don't know, dude. There's something about being at a show with a couple with 20,000 people where the thing will never happen again, because they don't play the same show twice in any capacity. It's really cool to be in this moment that just can't repeat itself with all of these people, and sharing in that is so rad to me.
Dude, I'm so excited for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, it rules, dude. I mean, you got to start going to more. I'm sure that I'm trying to think. They're doing a festival in August. They're doing their first festival in a long time.
Do you remember where? Because that's my whole thing in the new year. Delaware?
The Woodlands in August. I've got the date.
August is
so this is the other cool part about Fish that I fucking love, is the people there. The community around it rips. Over the summer, I met a guy named Dan with a couple other comics that I was with, Maddie Ryan and Kenny DeForest, and Kenny passed. And man, Dan saw it online. He finds me at the show the other night at New Year's. He gives me a book. It's a set list journal that he's made that has like just a note that says something like, you know, in memory of Kenny. It's like, you don't find people like that anywhere else. It's cool as shit, man. The community of people is just really special at a Fish show, I feel like. Man, I've never been to another concert like that. Yeah.
Did you ever?
It's
That's awesome. Did you? So you weren't into jam bands before, you said. Did you not have a Widespread Panic phase, being a Georgia guy or anything?
Not at all, dude.
Yeah.
My dad liked the Dead, and I think I pretended to like the Dead for a little bit. And it's not for me. Fish is the only one that I understand conceptually why I would like other jam bands. It's the same idea, but the music that Fish plays is just so up my alley in ways I didn't realize. I just don't think four guys play music better together than anyone else. Together
that's
better
awesome.
than everyone else. Yeah, it's cool, man. It's so cool. It's like good improv. It's just like watching good improv or a good podcast where it's just there's a flow going, and the only thing that stops it is the people that are doing it. You know?
Yeah.
It's just cool. I love it. I
Man,
love it. I love it.
I'm so happy for you, dude. This has been such a fucking pleasure. Thank you so much.
Dude, thank you for having me. This rules, man. And I didn't say I love the shirt. Fuck the Magic. We just had a time. I'm a Hawks boy, and we just had a little time with y'all. But,
hell yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. This is new. This is again me leaning into I hadn't bought clothes in fucking 10 years. And now I'm like, I'm wearing my NBA Jam shirt, everybody. It's got Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero on it. It's dope and it's comfortable and I love it. And
dude, Fish merch. I've got a Fish shirt on.
Nice.
Yeah, dude, it's
nice.
They're ruining me financially in every way. It's really going to be the death of me. I have no money, but I've seen Fish 13 times in the last calendar year.
Well, I want folks to go. We don't need to tell the story here because I want to listen to your podcast. But
thanks, man.
But I believe it was on your podcast where you talked about getting ripped off several times, or was that on somebody else's show? You were talking about that.
That was mine. So we do something. We have done something in the past, the Fish Go Quarter, where we recap Fish shows, and we have a different comic come and do it. The last one, it was Maddie Ryan. After we went to Philly. That's right. Yeah, we went to Philly and we both got ripped off. I mean, dude, we got ripped the fuck off.
Yeah. I felt for y'all, but I also loved it. It speaks to the dedication, right? Because it's like you were going to that fucking show. There wasn't anything stopping you, right?
Oh yeah, and I'm a panic guy. As soon as I'm like, we're going, I'm like, do we have tickets? If we don't have tickets, it's never gonna work. Yeah. And of course it worked out and I got scammed, but worth every penny.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. Well, your album, I like his style. Like I said, I've listened to it several times and it just
thanks, man.
Gives and continues to crack me up, and folks need to go check it out. And also your podcast In the Minivan is now on my heavy rotation.
Thanks, dude.
Man, I'm a big fan, and now I really appreciate this connection. This was awesome.
This rules, dude. This was so much fun, man. Good. I could talk about music and shit, especially country southern shit, forever.
Well, let's if we find ourselves in the same town at some point.
Yes, let's meet up, dude.
Like, I'd love for you. Do you got any tour dates coming up or anything?
Yeah, actually I do. When's this coming out?
As soon as I get off my ass, and probably in the next couple of days.
Great. Well, yeah, I'll be in Kansas City the 18th through the 20th. Okay. And then I'm going to be in State College February 23rd and 24th, and then Minneapolis April 26th, April 27th.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, we've got several fans in all those places, but especially Minneapolis. We're big in Minneapolis for whatever.
Dude, Minneapolis rules.
Fucking rules, dude.
They get music, they get culture, they get entertainment. They're the coolest people.
They're the coolest, man. The bike infrastructure there, everything about it.
I haven't seen that. I've never, but I do love a bike. I just love the music that comes out of Minneapolis. The best.
The best. I mean, yeah, and we've got great fans up there in Minneapolis and friends of the show.
Hell yeah.
So everybody go see Max, y'all. Yeah, I'll get this up in the next couple of days, and I can't wait for folks to hear it, man. Yeah, thanks,
man. Me neither. Hell
awesome.
Yeah.
Have a good night, man.
You too, dude.
Thanks. Max Fine, y'all. Thank you so much, Max. What a blast. Thank all of you for listening. Finecomedy.com for all things Max Fine. Just go get his album over on all the streaming services. Support the man. Come see him if he's coming through your town, y'all. I mean, what a fucking delight. And I'm just really grateful that this all came together the way it did. What you heard at the top of the episode is Once for Every Stack from Max's hilarious record, I Like His Style. It's so fucking good, y'all. Go listen. MarinadePodcast.com for all things The Marinade. Follow us on all the socials. We're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, Spoutable. We're active on Twitter, Blue Sky. We're on Mastodon, y'all. All the things. Subscribe and give us a 5-star rating on your podcast app. Tell a friend about the show. These are all free ways to support the Marinade. Go do that right now while you're listening, please. It makes a big difference for us and costs so little of your time. If you really like what we're doing, please consider joining our Patreon community for just $2 a month, y'all. You can gain access to Patreon exclusive content like our show Jason's Journey. That's where I talk about the moments that shape my creative life and provide a window into the process of making the Marinade. We also have one of my favorite days of the month is making What We're Getting Down On with my dear friend, the brilliant and hilarious Peter Haraldson. It's about the art that has us fired up at the moment, and Peter's about to come down from snowy white Minneapolis, St. Paul area to Orlando, where it's too cold for my taste, but it's in the 60s. And we're going to record in person right after I get a chance to talk to a repeat guest whose name I won't mention yet. But if you follow the Patreon, you'll know. Go over there, $2 a month, y'all, if you can swing it. We really appreciate it. You can try a free trial to see if you like it. No pressure. Try it for 7 days. Set a reminder in case you want to cancel, or keep going if you dig it. If you want to support the show financially, but you don't want to commit to a subscription, I totally get that. You can Venmo or PayPal us. It's just at the Marinade. All the money goes right back into the making of the show. All these festivals we get to cover. Y'all, I'm planning on spending half of June in Appalachia covering festivals. And that's because of our Patreon patrons. All right? I mean, I'm no complaints. My day job pays me well, but not that well. So if you can swing it, we really appreciate it. But above all, we're just so thankful you listen and spread the word about the Marinade. Until next time, go out and create something. Cheers, y'all.